Yeah. The very Praetorian Guard that guarded the emperor was under the control of other people. They made and broke kings. They were bribed into electing emperors and other things like that. Their soil was misused and run over. In fact, Hannibal did the greatest damage to them of all. As a matter of fact, Hannibal defeated them by just defeating their soil, by defeating their social organization, and ultimately destroying their will and their character as a people, dying on the vine, giving up their old traditions and giving up their insights in the world. We look at Egypt, of course, and we see again the nature of empires. And we have to look at it. I know the state of mind that we're in. We're trying to get over our traumas. We're trying to get over our complexes and so forth. And I understand that often that does necessitate the emphasizing of the positive. But also we are in a position of nation building, civilization building. We're in a position of trying to survive. We're in a position to try to make it through the next centuries as a people. In studying also the pride of our civilization, we must, as Chancellor William projected, study also the problems. Why did it fail? Why did it fall apart? What was going on? Did Egypt become too feudalistic? Did it get to a situation where too much of the land was in the hands of its priestly classes or in the hands of its nobles, and the smaller people and lower people having nothing or very little and overworked and overtaxed, such that they too then began to riot and begin to have discontent that ultimately began to disorganize the civilization, particularly as that civilization was attacked by the Asians and by outside forces, and a social system organized along feudalistic lines where you have a major king or emperor, but you have a lot of what? Sub-kings and sub-rulers. Can that empire stand up when it is being attacked from a number of different ways and directions, and not fracture so that kings will have a piece of this and another king will have a piece of that? And when it fractures that way, will not those kings of these separate areas vie with each other to become the supreme king again? These are the kinds of things, and that's why you have to look at what? Social organization, the political organization of states and of empires, so that when you rebuild your civilization again and your nation again, you will have this knowledge available to you so that you can build one that will not be fractured in the way that the earlier ones were fractured. And we see then Egypt going through this. And we see, though, again, as Egypt forgets and integrates, as Chancellor Williams indicates, bringing in those Asians into the very heart of its empire. You noted it got at one point where the Asians had replaced African laborers. Oh, you know, this is not the first age where black people were complaining about Asians having jobs and having control of the economy. They were complaining about that during the Egyptian Empire, did you know? Yeah. They had slipped them in. They had gotten themselves in positions through marriage and all other kind of games, and got to where they were controlling vital areas, or very heavy influence in vital areas. And we have a situation that's very much similar to where Africans exist today. Even in their own lands, other people have the vital positions and control of the economy. Yeah. Yes. And you must understand that psycho-history and understand that psychology of future survival. And you can begin to understand then the viciousness with which the Israelites defended their cultural integrity. They recognized that they could not survive otherwise. And so we can see then that each time, of course, Egypt gets in trouble. It gets in trouble because of these Asians and white-skinned people and these other people attacking and coming in. And because often it was not as prepared politically and organized as well as it could have been to deal with these people. And because it had permitted these people, some of them got into the priesthood and got into other vital cultural areas of Egyptian life. And we see Egypt only coming back when? And recapturing itself when? When it goes back to its what? Its origins. When it goes back down home, right? And goes south. And goes back to the blackest of the black. And forget about those mulattoes and people and goes back where? back down south and get this religious orientation together again. Get this ethnic orientation together again. Get this genius together again. Get this military organization together again. And then you see it what? Coming back to take over its lost territory. Coming back in many instances to expel the infidels and to expel the foreign elements from its midst. And yet making the mistake again of what? Letting them back in and having to fight the battle again and again. And entering into alliances with them, so at the end of its life, it's this betrayal by these white nations and by these Asian nations and by these so-called lords that they had appointed in the Delta that are betraying them and getting involved in intrigue that ultimately leads to its defeat and its destruction. Human errors. And the like of just pure heart sense in many instances, and seeing what is going on in the world and learning from history.